Okay, here we go. We're just about set for the 3 o'clock. Let me check the time. How many more? Oh, it is 3 o'clock. How about that? All right, so if I can have everyone's attention, it's good to see y'all. For those that don't know me, I am Rich Gomez. I'm head referee here for FLL, and I've been head referee for a number of years now. I've been doing refereeing at the FLL level since 2008. So this is one of my favorite programs. I really enjoy FLL. I know I recognize a number of you that have all been here before, but I think there are some new folks here. So like I always do to start off my presentation, can you raise your hand if you're a rookie? If this is your first season, first time as a coach, mentor. Okay, so look at these hands going up. Welcome to the family of FLL and First. We're excited to have you on. And so you can put your hands down. The next set of hands I want to see up are those who have been doing it for a while. How many are veterans? So you rookies that had just raised your hand, look around and see all these hands that are raised. And one of the primary things about First is we work together with each other to learn and to get better. So rookies, do not hesitate to talk to some of these veterans who have been doing this for a while. That's a very important aspect of First that I really, really enjoy. So the next one that I want to recognize, so that's me and my contact information. And so there's another set of people that I want to ask to raise their hands as well. And that's, I think we've got some volunteers in the crowd. So are there any people that have volunteered at tournaments before? So we've got a few out there, yeah. And actually, I know, well, 1, 2, 3, 4 of those back there are referees. So I really want to thank our referees, you know, that have been supporting us throughout the season, but also like Rick, he's tournament director, Elaine, she's mentor. You know, we've got a great organization here, and the volunteers that help out there really deserve a lot of thanks. So from my heart, thank you all for volunteering and helping out and making this program run. We couldn't do it without the awesome people that we have supporting us. Okay, the first thing I want to start out with, I guess this didn't get saved. I thought I saved it. Where'd I go? Did I push too many? Yeah, I first want to talk about the GP score, gracious professionalism. For the veterans, you know what this is all about. For the new teams, one of our core aspects of First is this concept of gracious professionalism. Respecting each other, helping each other out as much as we can, but we also want to compete with those other teams, but we want to do it in a respectful way that builds people up, builds our teammates up, and doesn't destroy anybody. Just like we don't want to destroy our environment, we don't want to impact those relationships by the way we treat others. So treating each other with respect, even if they're an opposing team and we're competing really tough with them, you know, we can still learn from them. If we're one of those really good teams and we see a team struggling, go out and helping them to raise them up. That's what, again, one of the tenets, one of the cores of First is all about, is this concept of gracious professionalism. So the teams are going to be judged based on what we see as the referee crew, what we see at the table during the competition. We know we've got awesome people in First. We know the teams are awesome and they're super excited, they're enthusiastic, they're willing to cheer on each other and cheer on other teams. We want to see that. That's kind of the expectation. And so everyone's coming in, we're going to assume your team is accomplished. So that middle there, developing, accomplished, exceeds. We're going to assume everyone who comes up to the table meets that accomplished. You're enthusiastic, you're cheering on each other as a team, you're helping each other out as a team, maybe giving some advice to the other team, you know, cheering them on, wishing them luck. That's the standard. All right, as you work through the match, what happens if things start going bad? Okay, that's my primary kind of marker, is because that's when we see either exceeds or developing. So a mission doesn't go as planned. The team starts jumping and saying things that may be inappropriate to the technician who just tried to run that mission, telling that technician that maybe they didn't do something right and yelling at him in the midst of everybody. Where do you think you're going to end up on the GP scale there? You know, teams, and I've seen that happen, teams start really getting on someone or one of the technician teams, the two that are working the mission, and they start yelling at them at the field. What are you doing? Why are you doing that? No, get out of the way. Let me do that. They're going to be developing. If I see that, if my referees see that, they'll bring it to my attention. I'll be having a talk with the coaches as well as the team, because we don't want to encourage that behavior. On the other hand, I've seen teams where the mission is falling apart, the robot's not working properly, you've got a technician that's about in tears or maybe in tears, and the team is like, take a step back, we can do this mission at a later point, let's get you out of the fire here and calm you down. And so there'll be a huddle with the team and the technicians that are struggling, and then later on in the mission, those two technicians come back to the field and they're ready to try their mission again. It may or may not work properly, but that technician team is no longer in tears or nearly in tears, because the team has built them back up and let them know, okay, we'll work through this together. Teams like that are going to get the exceeds. Okay, I've also seen teams that their robot crashes. They don't know what's going on. They think either the battery's dead, the programming has failed, and so their whole mission of that match is cheering on the other team. The other team does something awesome, they're cheering them on loudly. You know, we want to see that happen, but if it goes beyond, above and beyond, that's what we really like to see. And so the team is going to get an exceeds for that. All right, so that's something we're watching out for, and we want to hold that gracious professionalism and that teamwork aspect throughout the competition day. And the competition day can get pretty long. All right, so any questions on the GP real quick? Okay. Our next thing is, what are the resources you have available? You know, as new coaches, there's a lot of information out there, almost overwhelming. As experienced coaches, there's a lot of information that's out there, and it's overwhelming, okay? So who do you have to talk to? If you're a rookie coach, key up with one of these veteran coaches. You know, make sure you exchange information, get to know each other, but also there's a lot of information on the first website. Now, this year we've got 2 FLL Challenge programs going on. We've got Founders Edition and we've got the Future Edition. Okay, as you see up here on the board, when you go to the website and start navigating around, make sure you pick the right one. We're doing Founders Edition here in Arizona. Okay, so Founders is our focus. I'm not going to talk at all about the Future Edition. If you've got questions on Future Edition, I'd be happy to answer after we wrap up here. But make sure you select, and this is very important for the building instructions, because I'll put myself on report. When I first went in and started looking at the building instructions, I was all excited. I've got the Lego set, it's all set up, and I opened it up, and I'm like, this does not look right. This looks weird. What's going on? So I double check on what I had. Sure enough, I had called up the Future Edition build set instructions instead of Founders Edition. So I quickly retooled and found what I needed to do. So make sure you're looking at the proper stuff there. And speaking of how to get to resources, oh, am I out of, did I hit too many? I thought there was another slide on, but okay, so there's the website up there, firstinspires.org, resource library. But really, if you check and Google or do a search for FLL, First Lego League, FLL Challenge Updates, FLL Season Resources, you're going to pop up. Their top results are going to send you to the first pages. So pretty easy to find how to get to the website and get all the information you need. And then finally, once you start looking at all the information, remember the challenge updates come out on a fairly regular basis, every 2 weeks, every week during the early season, once a month maybe. You know, there's no set time that FLL releases their challenge updates, but you want to, I'd say weekly, every other week, check those challenge updates. Right now we don't have any updates, but there might be one or two that the wording and the video is a little bit different, so there may be some updates coming. Maybe not, you know, but always double check the challenge updates because they're going to take precedent over any of the other written material. So that's very important, especially for the new teams. Those challenge updates, know where to go, and take care of yourself in that regard. All right, mission model. When it comes to building these fun little things, you really want to be precise. I can't stress enough, I've seen teams come into qualifiers, even at state. I've had a team come in at state, and they say, that mission model is not operating correctly. Are you sure that it's built correctly? Which we encourage the teams to ask the referees, you know, hey, I want to check that model because it doesn't look like it's correct. And so we'll check it. And I've had several discussions with different teams over the years that it's like, that model's not working correctly. And so we'll check it, and it's like, okay, yeah, that checks out, that's good. And they're like, no, this piece is wrong. And it's like, I don't think so, but we'll check. So call up the instructions, check it out. Sure enough, it's built correctly. The team built it incorrectly and practiced the whole season with an incorrect built model. That could be something as small as pins. You know, as you see up there, black and gray pins are different. They give a little bit different resistance. And so that can definitely affect a model. If the bricks aren't put together tight enough and they start getting loose over the period of play, then they can start affecting the model. So the precision of the build, making sure you're paying attention to what holes the pegs go in, what color pegs you're using, all of that is very important in having a successful practice leading into the tournament. Also, placing the models on the mat becomes very important. As we'll get the camera on the mat here pretty soon, but the dual lock, if it's off the mark and you set your model not within the guidelines, that injects a little bit of variation in how that model works and how your robot is interacting with that model. You come to the tournament and it's more precisely placed, that could affect how the robot performs. Of course, the robot has a lot of variability built into it as well. It can be pretty frustrating when the robot is pulling to the right all the time or pulling to the left all the time and you can't figure it out. So troubleshooting your robot and taking care of all those variations, but also pay attention to how you mount the models on your field when you get it. Speaking of all that, how many have their fields? Raise your hand if you have your fields. Have you started putting them together? Have you started building them yet? Yeah. How many are waiting on their fields? Do not have their fields? I see a lot more hands going up for people who don't have their fields yet. So, hopefully they're on their way and you'll get those soon. This really is a fun set of models this year, I think. So let's see. I already talked about Founders Edition versus Future Edition. And yep, I think we're good to go there. All right, I already talked about the mission model placement. And speaking of that, one of the exciting things this year is we've got a new aspect, a new dynamic to the gameplay. You've got 3 mission models, 13, 14, and 15, that I'll show here in a moment live on the field, but you as a team dictate where those are placed. We're going to leave the field with those 3 models set based on what the previous team had set. But if you have something different, you need to let us know. And that could be as simple as telling the referee, hey, referee, I need the model that's in the city dock moved over to the mine dock. Can we change those 2 models? Or I want to change the farm and the mine dock. Or you can, that's the way we'd prefer it to be done. So you, as the team, the technicians, after the inspection, when you're dividing to the 2 sections of the field, then that's the time to say, hey, referee, we need to rearrange the models that can be rearranged. Something as simple as that. And that'll initiate that conversation with the referee, and the referee will take those and change those. So that's a pretty exciting aspect this year, I think. And especially when it comes to Mission 15, the biocentric architecture, that's, you've got 3 aspects that are scoring on that for normal scoring. And I'll show those when we go live. But depending on how the robot interacts and accomplishes those, you can get bonus depending on which dock you're in. So that's that building, the biotexture architecture building, depending on where it's in, it'll give bonus points depending on what has been activated. So if you activate all 3 of them, it doesn't matter which dock it's in, but one of them is kind of tenuous. It might be hard to activate, and if it's in the wrong place, if it's in the wrong dock, and you were relying on that to score that bonus, then that might not score. So pay attention to that. With all of these missions, what I recommend is read through them as a team, figure out what you want to concentrate on, pick 2 or 3 missions at the beginning and focus on them, then reread and reread once again, and then reread all the rules again, okay? So you can't read the book enough. The rule book is very important to read, okay? I can't stress that enough. So read, and read again. I do that throughout the season, and like there's one mission in particular I've read 4 times already, and I think I've finally got it down. The first couple of times I'm scratching my head going, how are we going to do that? What's going to happen there? Okay? So speaking of that, I think we are ready to jump in. We are ready to jump in live. So I think Ethan here is our cameraman, so he's going to help me at the table. Thank you, Ethan. All right, so I'm not going to go over all of the missions here. I just want to highlight a few of them. Obviously, the rule book is where you find all the details on all of that, but I do want to highlight a few things. First of all, since I was just talking about 13, 14, and 15, okay, so here's the mine right here, and you've got these yellow and green pivot things that are going to lock the model in. If they're extended out like wings, that means the model is locked in. If they're pulled in, then the model can be taken out. Just like that, okay? So these can go into whichever dock you want them to go into. Now, come around. This mission here is the biocentric architecture. Okay, this is the biocentric architecture one. You've got the compost bin right here, and that scores bonus if it's in the farm. Okay, so if you activate that and it's in the farm, you're going to get those bonus missions, or those bonus points. If you've got the habitat structure up top, kind of the nest set up, and that's kind of that gray piece there, kind of swings pretty freely, so that's one that may be difficult to activate. If that's in the mine area and you activate that, that's going to score those bonus points that we were talking about. So if you have it in the mine and you activate the compost, but this one fails, let me get it to fail, then you're not going to get those bonus points. So be careful on that. Now, the other scoring condition on this one is the skylight. So pushing the skylight in, if that is in the city area, that's going to get you bonus points. Okay? So that's kind of how those bonus points work on that one. And again, teams, you tell the referees where you want this to go, and we'll switch them out at the beginning there, lock them in place, and we're good to go. Okay? So your choice on those three. All right, the other one, one of the other ones I wanted to mention, on the drone here, you've got the drone lifted up, so the drone off the mat is the scoring condition, but then you've got the LiDAR map. That's this piece right here, okay? It's in the down position, not active, and so if you open it up, then that reveals a box. And that box is where you can get some additional points by putting the base of that drone unit in. And that also, technical hint here, that might help keep it stable so it doesn't fall during the gameplay. Because remember, matches are scored at the end of the 2.5 minutes. Everything you do, if it gets defeated sometime during that 2.5 minutes, so if you raise this guy, and then sometime during the 2.5 minute match, the robot hits it and it slides down, you're going to not score any points for that, even though at one point you are scoring points. Points are counted at the very end of the match when the buzzer hits 0. All right, so that's the drone and the LiDAR. The one that this is the one that I scratched my head on a couple of times reading it and watching the video. And so there are a couple of things on this. This is the leaves, the lucky leaves, and you can see there's nothing on the bottom of that one. Let's see, is there something on the bottom of this one? Yeah, there's something on the bottom of this one. Those are the legs for the katydid, okay? So we don't want to disrupt the environment. We don't want to threaten the little critters that run through the rainforest. And this guy camouflages himself, so he can't be readily seen and eaten by other bigger bugs. All right? So you've got two that don't have the feet. Those are just regular leaves. You want to pull them off and get rid of them, but you don't want to disturb this guy. Now, he's randomized, or she, it could be a she. That one is randomized, so you don't know which place it's going to be in. So how do you attack that mission so that you're not losing points if you uncover the little beast? Okay? I want to go on this one because it's kind of complicated, and I'm going to spend a little bit more time. I'm actually going to read what it says because this is very important. The blue text. So some of these missions have blue text associated with them. Take the time to read and reread those. It says the nest is the mission model that holds the leaves and the katydid. Okay? So the mission model is the Lego. Then you've got the area bound by the mission model and this black line. Okay, that's the nesting area that we're going to talk about here in a sec. If the katydid is completely removed from the nest at any time, the bonus is no longer available. So that's 20 points for that bonus. That bonus is no longer available. So the robot picks him up, moves it. He's completely out of the nest area now. So therefore, the bonus is not going to get counted, even if it's put back in. Okay? Put back in. All right? So the robot has to be careful about how he checks the leave. Again, want to be very gentle with the critters that live in the rainforest. The other aspect of this is if the katydid is outside the leaf habitat at the end of the mission, even partly, the team scores 0 points for this mission. The leaf habitat includes the nest and the marked area on the mat surrounding it. Okay, so let's look at that a little bit deeper. So the robot is looking at the bottom, checking it, puts it down. Okay, that one, we'll take that one. Yeah, we'll get that one off. So one leaf completely removed, but the katydid is outside, but it wasn't completely removed. Okay, how does all that work? So if the katydid is completely removed from the nest, bonus no longer is available. Okay, so he wasn't completely removed, he was partly removed, so we're still good there for the bonus, possibly. Okay, and the second leaf is completely removed, no longer touching the nest, with the katydid in its original starting position is the bonus. Okay, so in this case, bonus wouldn't apply because he's not in the original starting position. So we can still get the 10 points for the one leaf that is completely outside the nest. All right, so if the robot is able to return him into the nest completely, so completely, there, he's completely in the nest, the bonus, let's see, katydid in its original starting position. Oh, that's right. This is where it got confusing. Okay, so the katydid was never completely removed, but he's no longer in the original starting position. Therefore, the bonus doesn't count in that regard. Okay, remember, if it's completely removed, then there are no points at all unless it, let's see. If it's completely removed from the nest at any time, the bonus is no longer available. If it's outside the habitat at the end of the match, even partly, the team scores 0. So that's where it gets complicated. So at the end of the match, time 0, while the robot is looking at it and determines, okay, that needs to stay in the nest, puts it back down, it was partly removed, now it's completely back in. There we go. Now it's completely back in, so the 10 points still counts there. If it's partly outside, then that is no longer the leaf habitat. Let's see. Even partly, the team scores 0 points for this mission. So here, the katydid is partly outside the nest, so that invalidates this one that's completely out. Okay? So that's a tough one. The biggest thing is if you can keep the katydid in its place, that's recommended. So how is the robot going to do that? Be thinking of the strategy to do that. And if it gets off, do you have a way to make sure that katydid is still completely in the area? Because you don't want him partly in the area or you'll lose the points. So that's a pretty complex mission. Any questions on that? There is no difference from the top. The only difference is the bottom and what that looks like.
You mentioned they are randomized?
They are randomized.
So every time a team comes up, you'll switch them around?
Every time they're going to be randomized, yes. So that you're not going to know which area it's in. And that's what makes this model so complicated. This is an advanced mission, really, when you look at it, is how to figure out what that leaf is without disrupting.
I'm thinking skip.
That could be. Did you have a question?
Is it possible to take all the 3 of them back to home and then deliver one that has the thing on the bottom back?
So let's take a look at that. Great question. And again, the rule is, let's see, the katydid is completely removed from the nest at any time the bonus is no longer available. Okay, so that makes it so the bonus isn't available. The team can still bring him back and get him completely in the nest. And if it's completely in the nest at the end, then you'll still get the points for having one of the leaves out. Okay, does that make sense?
So are we absolutely sure that the team isn't going to see where the katydid is going to land? Are you going to have this box or a bag, and you're going to withhold it?
That's a great idea.
The back of it, and being able to see where it's going to go.
We're still working through that one. To be honest with you, I am not sure. Technically, we shouldn't be bringing additional stuff in to help us reset the field. That's kind of not in the spirit of FIRST. So we're not going to make it obvious, okay? We're going to try and keep it as random as possible. Ideally, we don't want the teams to see. And so I'm going to ask, since you bring it up, teams, invoke that gracious professionalism, don't cheat. Don't watch.
Is it
But
possible that it can be randomized, but the team could still know before their robot launches which one, even though it could be different, it could be in any position, which one they have to leave?
I'll look into that a little bit more. The way it's written is randomized, which tells me the team doesn't know where it's in.
Randomized just means it's
But
a random position.
you're right. I see where you're going with that question, and I'll look into that a little bit more, and we'll see.
Because if that were the case, it would still be necessary to adapt in the moment. So that's
You're right.
still challenging, even if right before it starts, they do know which one it is. It's still challenging to have to adjust.
I agree. Yep. I completely understand where you're going. So let's stand by. Yeah, I'm expecting challenge updates on this mission. So, yep. Okay, moving on to a couple of other missions real quick. We've got the combined mission, the co-opetition mission, stems from this guy here being fully extended. Okay, so this is your tree root that gets fully extended. Now, on this field, so you've got in a competition, you've got another field adjoining this field. When you turn this field 180 degrees, you'll see the mycelium model in the same position or location as the tree root. The scoring factor on this is both sides have activated the model so it's fully extended. Okay. Ideally, the mycelium will come over the tree root and they'll join, so they're touching, okay? That's pretty complicated to time it. If that happens and I see the teams communicating with each other, oh, we're going to do the mycelium, you guys are going to do the tree root, make sure you do the tree root first and then we'll do the mycelium, and they coordinate like that. That's pretty awesome. That exceeds GP. You know, I love that communication. That would be awesome to see. But it's not required to score, and both teams will score the bonus if both teams activate their models so that they're touching. So you can have one that's fully active, that gets you one bonus. You can have a second one that's fully active, that gets you a second bonus. So you can get 2 bonus points out of that if both teams fully engage both of their models. So that's pretty cool. In the past, you've only been able to get 1 bonus from the co-opetition. So that's another change this year that's pretty cool. As far as some of the other models, remember there are some missions that if you disrupt them while the robot is running around the rainforest, again, we want to be respectful of the environment. We don't want to damage anything in the environment. If we turn over a rock, we want to put that rock back so that we're not disturbing, even though we've studied underneath the rock. That's one of the missions. But specifically, there are these two missions, the little snail here and the spider web, that if you disrupt those missions, or disrupt those models, you actually lose points. So you've got an automatic, if you were not to do anything, you've got your robot, it's been inspected, you get the 20 points for inspection, you've got all of the precision tokens because your robot hasn't done anything, so you haven't lost a precision token from an interrupt, and so that's 50 points, so 70 points, 80 points, 90 points, because the robot didn't disrupt those two missions, they're still in their upright position, those automatically score at the end of the match. So if the robot does only stuff on this part of the field, or only stuff on that part of the field, and doesn't do anything here, those models are going to score. That's free points for the team. So automatically you start off with 90 points, unless you start going around and destroying the models and all of that. Also remember, speaking of destroying models, you don't want to break the models. So be careful how you interact with the models, because any points associated with a mission that has been broken is going to invalidate that score. All right? So those are the main models that I wanted to hit and talk about. There are a couple of other ones, obviously, that we didn't cover. You can read about those as you read through the manual again and again and again. So at this point, I want to open it up for questions. How are we doing time-wise? And we'll keep the camera on standby in case somebody has specific missions. Okay, so we've got time and we'll just work our way around.
I have one question. When we were building our tree mission, we noticed it was a little wobbly. Is that normal, or is that supposed to be like...
Yep, so the tree is a fragile environment, all right? There are aspects of it. It is a big model. You want to make sure that it's nice and tight when you build it, but it is kind of wiggly and wobbly. That's why there's a lot of dual lock underneath to hold it down, but you can see I'm not putting a whole lot of effort. The mat is waving around. So that's one of those engineering challenges, is it's not a perfect environment. It's not perfectly, stable. So how do you work that into your robot actions? Maybe the robot has to go down in power and not go out at full power, especially when the platform is being raised. Okay, so that's definitely a challenge that I've noticed, that the tree is, especially when you get the platform raised, you can see it's even more wobbly. Okay, so that's something to watch out for. Okay, I'll catch you because we've got some questions in the back.
You were explaining about the spider web and the snail, but I thought if you have to go through that, then you will get a 20 points.
So the way it's structured, and I'll check as I'm walking back, but my understanding is as long as you don't disturb them at all, those points count. Even if the robot doesn't have to kind of come through in between them to activate those points. Let me see. Good question. I think that is mission 10, if I remember correctly. There we go. Let's see. The scoring condition is the spider habitat is in its original starting position, and the snail habitat is in its original starting position. 10 points each. And so researchers must work carefully when exploring protected ecosystems move through the area without damaging these tiny creatures and homes. So one thing about the way the rules are written, you've got the lines so there's the part that I just read up above the scoring area lines. So that's kind of the background of the model, and the intent is while the robot is operating throughout the field, throughout the area, then they don't disturb those models. But the scoring condition, and that's what the referees are going to be looking at and grading the team on, is specifically when we're scoring at 2.5 minutes, when the timer goes off, what's the position of those models? And so there's no blue text like it is with the leaves, where there are certain conditions. There are no conditions associated with these. So yeah, that's automatic 20 points, no matter where the robot goes. Okay? Yes? Flip which one? Flip the rock mission. Okay, good question again. So the scoring condition in this, and I'll put on, I follow leave no trace ethics. And so putting on the leave no trace ethics, or minimizing impact, as the case may be, because we're always going to leave a trace. Minimizing impact, that's what this mission is really kind of emphasizing, is you want to explore, you want to do science and uncover what's under the rock. Okay, so you want to see the critters, you want to see that microbiome that's going on under there. You've got the flag here that was released by activating the rock. The scoring condition is now, after you've released that flag and done your research and all that, you flip it back over. It's not an easy flip. The robot's got to do something to flip it back over, okay? The what, pardon me? Correct. If you can flip there's nothing that says the rock has to be flipped to release that flag. So if there's a way to release the flag without flipping the rock, go for it. Okay, other questions? We've got this one, and then I'll come to you.
Those little dual lock Velcros, do you secure your mat to the styrofoam, or is it loose?
Excellent question. Because we have seen more and more teams, they practice with putting dual lock down on their mat. We will not, at the tournaments, put dual lock down on the mat to hold it in place. What we are allowed to do at tournaments is take a piece of tape and tape down the side here. And I do that at state, and I do that up at Flagstaff, and I know some of the other tournaments around here in the valley do secure their mats. There have been seasons where I haven't had to secure the mat. This year I'm going to recommend that we secure the mat with tape, because there are a couple of models and the interactions that have started to raise like this one here, you can see the mat being raised. So that's one of the things we'll do, but we don't have to. Okay, question over here.
I was gonna ask if it's a good idea to put tape on the model when we're practicing, like on the mat.
Tape on the mat itself?
No, like on the sides.
Oh, on the side. Sure, I'd recommend it. Yep.
Can you talk a little bit about the home zone and how you can, doesn't say, but you can be successful in some of these missions by the purple strips you have over there?
Ah, gotcha.
And you can get things, but you can't enter the map from there, you can only enter from the entry zones, right?
So as you read through the rules, very, very important, again, to read through the rules section. So you've got the missions, and then you've got the rules. And the rules are written such that don't add interpretation, don't add assumptions. And so that's a great question that I'll challenge you with I'll leave the answer kind of vague, but challenge you with looking. So this is incentive to read the rules. For the robot to operate anywhere on the field, it's got to launch completely within the launch area, okay? So it's got to launch completely within one of these two launch areas. And when I say completely, that's the robot, any attachments it has, anything it's going to move has to fit and start within the area. Once the technician launches the robot, it's going around, it's doing its stuff. As long as the technician doesn't interrupt it, it can go wherever it wants on the field. All right? When it comes back and the technicians want to change something or start a new mission, the robot has to be completely in home. It can come into home however it wants, okay? But home is still part of the field, okay? So remember that. You've got the mat, and then you've got the field. So as long as you launch and don't touch it, the robot can go wherever it wants. So that may or may not answer your question, but gives you something to think about and read the rules on. All right, I'll take a couple more questions. Yes, sir.
One more question about the leaves one. If you just pull out all three, I know you won't get the bonus, but would you still get points for that?
If the katydid at the end of the match is completely in that nest area, you still get that 10 points, provided all the leaves are gone, or one leaf is gone.
Okay, but even if the katydid is out, no bonus, no.
Correct. If the katydid is out even partly, then no points for that. Yep. Yeah, that a head scratcher.
Last question. I heard that we can keep the attachment in I heard somewhere that we can keep the attachment in a attachment cabin in the side of that. Can we use it today this year?
Yes. So one of the several teams have been very innovative, shall we say, in having a little caddy that hangs over the side of the home area. So the rule as it's written is all of your attachments, anything you're going to use during the match must be retained in the home area, which is the launch area and the sidebar here. And in addition to that, the technicians, or not the technicians, the other members of the team that aren't in a technician, so if I've got several people on the team, 2 technicians, I'm over here, I can't be holding a piece of equipment. But a piece of equipment supported on the edge, hanging over the side, not the front, is acceptable. So I've seen teams create, and it's got to be Lego. You've got to use Lego pieces. You can't just have a bag or a container. It's got to be Lego made. So they make a Lego attachment that hangs over to the side, and then they keep all their attachments there. Or they hang their attachments. I've seen teams just hang the attachment over the side. And they've gotten really good at, they line them up, precise order, and once they put an attachment on, they slide the attachments down. I mean, they've got it down to a science. Was that what you were going to say, Elaine? Yep. It's got to be Lego. And on that, especially for the new teams, everything you bring to the field, except for one item, has to be Lego, all Lego. It can't be a non-Lego product except for a piece of paper. Each home team can have one piece of paper that is kind of like, we call it cheat sheet. It gives you kind of your rundown of programs that you want, and or maybe a quick checklist, but you can have one piece of paper per home team that the team can follow. So that's the only non-Lego piece that's acceptable. Correct. Innovation project is different. We're just talking the game matches. Yep. Other questions?
Over the years, I've seen like a chicken model throughout the things. Like, do you know where that like originated and like why?
Okay, so the chicken. How many are familiar with the chickens in FLL? The chickens have a wonderful heritage. I believe it was Animal Allies mission back in the early 2000s, like 2009, 2010, something like that. There was a couple little chickens in a farmyard, And one of the comments on the mission was warning about a chicken going rogue and trying to do different things to upset the farmer and the farmland. So there was a chicken that didn't behave himself very well, supposedly, if you read the missions correctly. And that kind of stuck over the years, and we've had fun with chickens. There may be something that resembles a chicken somewhere on the field. I don't know. I'll leave that to you to figure out if there's a chicken in the rainforest. But yeah, so the chicken has a storied history with FLL, and the chicken is wonderful. Hence, every few years you see chickens pop back up in various aspects. So, Elaine, do you have anything to add to the chicken? Did I capture it? It was great. Oh, that's right, yeah. Yeah. So kind of on that theme, a funny story that was orchestrated up in northern Arizona with the coconuts and maybe a certain referee. We got together the night before as we're in the season after the chicken made its debut. And our intel sources had intercepted communication amongst the chickens, devising a plan to disrupt the field. And so Saturday morning, there were a bunch of chickens all around the fields, and the coconuts were called out to collect the chickens and arrest them for their treasonous activities around the FLL field the year following Animal Allies. And it was, thankfully they were caught well in advance of missions actually starting, so we were able to double check the models and the chickens hadn't disrupted the models. We had their plan. The plan had been drafted up, and it showed how they were going to destroy the models, and we defeated their plan. So the coconuts did a good job there. All right, other questions aside from the chicken? Yes, ma'am.
Just a couple of like rookie comments. When we were a rookie team, you want me to hold it? Sure. When we were a rookie team, these are a couple of the mistakes that we came across because we didn't know any better. And the two of them that were big for us is knowing that we couldn't bring our laptop to the table during competition, and we could only have two programmers on each side, and they could not cross the middle line. So those were two things as a rookie team we weren't aware of that, we obviously quickly learned. So I just wanted to throw that out there for the other teams.
Awesome, thank you for that. And actually, now that you mention it, pretty much every year since we've done the divide, I've talked about that, but I didn't, and I thought about adding that in, and I'm like, we've been doing this long enough. That's probably too much information. So thank you for bringing that up, especially for the rookies. Because pay attention to it. It's kind of become a commonplace when you're setting up, you inspect the equipment on one or both of the launch areas. And frankly, I've never seen a team that can't fit within one launch area. That's automatic 20 points if you do that. So you're in one launch area. Then we have to divide the team into the two sections, the blue section and the red section. And those sub-teams or those groups of the team have to stay on your red side or your blue side, and you can't go back and forth. But the technician and the people in the group can switch places at the table. Yes, Elaine?
If you build a caddy that's hanging over the edge, does that have to fit in your inspection area?
Yes, that does. Excellent question on that one as well. So anything you bring to the field has to fit within that inspection area. The other aspect of the teams on either side is they can't transfer equipment back and forth. So if you have your caddy, you've got all of your attachments on this side. After setup, you've divided. We've arranged the 13, 14, 15 models as you want. and then we're set to go. Are you set to go? You've got all your equipment and attachments over on this side. Does that group need any attachments? Oh yeah, let's get them over there before we start the match. Because once the match starts, oh, you guys have attachment X. I need attachment X. Okay, here you go. That's not allowed. The teams can't pass equipment back and forth. The robot's over here getting ready to launch. Oh wait, we want to launch the mission that's over on the blue side. Oh, I'll grab the robot, hand it over to the blue side. Nope, that's not allowed. So you may want to think about how to get robot from red side to blue side or blue side to red side. That could be an advantageous program to have. So no handing stuff back. If you interrupt the robot mid-field or somewhere in the field outside of a launch area, then one group can hand it to the other group. Okay? So that's something to keep in mind. So thanks for opening that door. I think that is worthwhile to keep in. So I'll make a note to add that in for future. But thank you for your advice. Appreciate it. Yes, another question.
Is the soccer field on the mat a tribute to the World Cup this year?
Oh, soccer field? Where's the soccer field? There is a soccer field on here. I think you got one. I would make that assumption. I think that's a good one. Okay, how are we looking time-wise? We probably got time for one or two more questions or comments. Any other lessons learned? Anything that I've missed over by the veterans that you want me to talk about or that you want to talk about?
Well, I don't need to talk about it, but I know that one of the problems we had in our first season, kids got so excited about getting their model when it's coming back to the home place, and they reach a little bit too early, and the robot hadn't fully gotten into the home before they touched it.
Yeah, that's another great one. I can't express enough. I see that happen a lot, where the team is so excited, and they're bringing something in. And for instance, one of the things is collecting the seed pods, and then you bring them back. You want to load them up. They catch the robot, the seed pod is still outside, even though it's carried by the robot. That seed pod now goes away. So they've lost that because of an interruption while the robot is not completely in the area. Question?
Can we still use our EV3s?
Are they Lego? Yes. Yep, that is your answer. Yeah, any of the Lego systems can be used. The only issue is you're still limited to 4 motors. But I've got an RCX. How many know what an RCX is? I've got my RCX still, and every now and then I pull it out and dust it off and make sure it still works. So that's the first Mindstorm robotics the Lego came out, and that's the yellow. Yeah. Yeah, that was my Christmas present. Santa brought that to me for Christmas before I had kids.
I don't know if this is the right place for this question, but do you have a November 21st qualifier listed on the website? Is that the only one, or will there be more added?
There will be more added. Yeah, we're looking. We're still trying to get the schedule cemented. Francisco is doing the work with his team on getting all that. There he is. So, Francisco, do you want to add anything or just leave it? We're finalizing the schedule. Correct. Yeah, so in case there was any hard hearing over on this side, qualifiers are still being scheduled. You can pretty much count on every weekend in December there being a qualifier somewhere down in this area. We've got a couple in November, just the weekend before Thanksgiving. So there will be quite a few qualifiers out available to you. Remember, you only participate in one qualifier. And also remember, on the robot game, your top score counts. So of the 3 matches, only your top score counts in the overall rankings and all that. So if your first 2 missions or matches are bust, your third, you hit a home run and get 520 points or 530 points, that 530 points is going to be your score. Same if you did that on the first one. All right, other questions? I think we're kind of at a time. I'll take this one last question, and then I'll give it over to Francisco for any closing comments. Yes?
Like, how do you use jigs? Are we allowed to use jigs?
Oh, jigs, another very, very good question. So jigs, if you don't know what a jig is, it's something to help you start the robot. So I've seen robots where the team is aligning them by eyeball and say, okay, we've got it lined up, go. And the robot goes off because it was 2 degrees off of where they wanted it to be. A jig can be something that rests within the grid on the mat or is positioned against the back or the side of the launch area, and the robot fits in a specific area, in a specific orientation, and then it's put into the jig, the robot is started, and it starts that way every time. All right? Jigs are allowed. They're highly successful items. So if you're thinking about, okay, what can I do to make my robot perform better? Jigs are a great thing to look at. And jigs can be held in place by the team. So when you're launching the robot, you can't be touching anything other than just whatever is needed to activate the robot. But you can hold on to the jig so that the jig doesn't move as the robot starts up.
My question is on the mat itself. I think the question was asked whether we can tape the mat to the board. The question is, can all the tournaments, maybe scrimmage you can't enforce, but so the tournament games, be able to follow one, like how you have set up here. That way, the kids have a fair chance of scoring higher points.
If I can add some background to that, we have in past seasons, the tables may not be precise. Okay, they may be plus or minus half an inch, right, or a quarter of an inch. There's some tolerance that they follow. So we can't guarantee that the table from wall to wall or the height of the table is exact for every tournament. What we can guarantee is that the mat is centered on the center of the table, and so you've got the same distance in the home, and that it's completely against the south wall. Those are the requirements that we need to meet. And there's going to be variation from table to table, both in the size, the height, and the surface area. We don't want huge issues with gouges in but it's going to be flat, but it may not be perfectly flat. So the team has to work on the engineering of how do we handle those slight tolerances. So when you're making jigs, keep that in mind. A jig made for this table to go in this corner and extend to the launch area may be different than the Flagstaff qualifier, which may be 1/8 of an inch off. That 1/8 of an inch can make a difference. So the lines on the grid, they can help you out quite a bit. Okay, I think we're out of time. So Francisco, do you have any? We got, 4:30. Okay, in my mind it was 4 o'clock. So we can keep going. Okay, we got a question in the back over here.
can we like hold the attachments after the inspections, or do we have to put them on the side?
Okay, so the only ones that can hold your attachment after inspection is the technicians at the field. So if you're not in that technician, and remember there are only 2 technicians on each side. So if I'm on a team and we've got 10 people on the team, okay, maximum team size, we've got 10 people, there are 2 people here, technicians, 2 people here that are technicians, and we've got 3 attachments on this side, 5 attachments on that side, and so we've got a lot of attachments. We want everyone to hold those attachments? Nope. Those attachments have to stay here. The technician, if you're up here at the table, then you can be holding one and getting ready when the robot comes back, getting ready to put it on, that's allowed. But if I'm standing back here, not a technician, I can't be holding that. Okay. Other questions, comments, lessons learned? What have I missed? Scrimmages. Francisco, do you want to talk about scrimmages at all, or you want me to talk about that? Scrimmages are a great way for the teams to get to know other teams. I've seen so much growth from a team at a scrimmage. You know, they come in with nothing and they leave because they've been talking to veteran teams with a couple programs and maybe a new attachment. So scrimmages can really help out a team. So highly encouraged.
It's more curiosity. Is this the last season for Founders then?
To be determined. Yes, I believe it is. I have heard that there's still discussions going on about what the future is going to look like. Whether that's going to be a traditional challenge thing, probably not. Elaine, do you have any other insights? Or Francisco, do you have any other insights? Yeah, I've heard that there's still a lot of discussion at First Headquarters about what the future is going to look like for FLL. Over in the back.
Do we have to remove the jigs before starting the robot?
Excellent question. Do you have to remove the jigs? No. The jigs can be left in place and until the robot is launched and does its stuff. Good question. Jigs are a great tool. I use them all the time in my workshop. Other questions? All right, let's see. Is there anything else I missed? Let me go through, since we've got a little bit of time here. One of the other critical things is as you're getting closer to that tournament date, very important for teams to practice like they're going to compete. So take the time for the coaches, mentors, teams, take the time to devote yourself to a 2.5 minute session. What's that going to look like? You know, how long is that 2.5 minutes really? What I see a lot of is teams, they practice, they're working on a mission. They work it, they get it, they celebrate, they reset, they do it again, they reset, they do it again. And so they never go through a timed 2.5 minute, you know, how are we going to set up? How are we going to divide the team? How are we going to, you know, check and make sure our removable models are placed in the proper place? And they get to the tournament and it's ingrained in them. Okay, we're doing this tree mission here, and the robot lifts this guy and pulls this and misses. Okay, we're going to reset that, and we're going to rerun that mission. Okay, I've seen that at tournaments where the team will reset the model so that they can redo it again because they didn't quite get it right. That's not allowed. At the tournament, we will stop you from doing that. Remember, you can't touch any of the stuff on the field. If the ring falls and stays there, only the robot can act on it. If a seed pod, the seed pod here, comes loose, and wherever it lays at the end or when it stops, that's where it sits, the team can't grab it and bring it back in. The robot can do something to bring it in, but the team can't. On those lines, if it's partly over the base, and we don't have our camera. Oh, you might be able to see it. Yeah. So the seed pod is partly over the base here, or partly over the launch area, home. Again, it stays there until the robot acts on it and brings it back in. If one of the technicians decides, okay, that's in our way for the next launch, we're going to move it out of the way, the referee is going to politely say, can I please have that seed pod? It is out of play. All right, so pay attention to where your stuff is. And that goes with the equipment too. If the robot has something that falls off as it's coming in, it rolls and is partly in the home area, the team grabs it, that's considered an interrupt, and they will lose one of their precision tokens. So keep that in mind, unless the robot is able to sweep it in. Maybe another program that could be good to have. All right, other questions while I'm looking through, seeing if there's anything else that I may have forgotten. Remember, if a team only has 2 or 3 people on it, when you come to divide, if you've got 2, there's a technician on each side. Even though you may be running all of the missions out of the red side, you've still got to have a technician on both sides, if team of 2. Team of 3, one side is going to have 2 technicians, one side is going to have 1 technician, and remember, those technicians can't cross sides. Okay, so that's another thing to pay attention to. Yes?
Technicians behind or other team members, they can still swap, right?
Yes, so the team members on that side can swap into the technician role. Yeah, they can do that all match long. And quite frankly, I find that one of the coolest things about FLL is with bigger teams, you've got 6, 7, 8, 10 people on a team, having everyone cycle through is a great learning aspect. You've got and kind of the model is the team they're focused on different missions. So we've got 2 technicians focused on the rock mission, 2 technicians focused on the tree and the katydid, 2 technicians focused on exposing the root. And so they take ownership of those missions and they work them. They know how the robot's going to work, and they know the variability that may pop up. And so they're able to handle that. And then they run that mission, they cycle around, 2 more technicians come up, and that's a very successful model. And I really enjoy seeing that. Another question.
So like, can you only have 1 technician on 2 sides, or can you have 2 sections?
So it depends on the number of people you have on the team. If you're 4 people on a team or more, then you have 2 technicians on each side. So if you've got a team of 5, say a team of 5, you've got 2 technicians on one side, 2 technicians on the other side, and then that 5th person, which side is that 5th person going to be running missions out of? You want them on that side. You don't want them on the other side and they've got to run a mission on, you don't want them on red side when they're going to be running a mission on the blue side. So plan for that. And that's another reason where the practice matches before you come to the tournament in the last week, 2 weeks leading up to the tournament, you practice those dynamics, because competition day, they're excited, their mind is going every which way, and they really want to do well. It can get chaotic, okay? So take the time to practice that. It's well worth your while. And remember, don't get pieces on the field, or don't reset mission models that you want to try again. One of the other things that I didn't mention up front, and I normally mention up front, it just hit me, is remember, this is all about celebrating what you do for the season, okay? This is supposed to be fun. It's stressful. It's chaotic, you know, but it's competition. That's a good thing. But don't lose fact of this should be fun. Engineering is fun. Science is fun. It can be daunting. It can be overwhelming, but it's really fascinating and really cool stuff. So remember, the tournament is all about celebrating the success of what you've learned. Even if you accomplish one mission, celebrate that. That's awesome, especially for rookie teams. Rookie teams, if you do one mission and one mission only, that's a success. If you do one mission and it fails, you know what? That's life. Celebrate that. Why did it fail? What happened? You know, ask those scientific questions. Try and figure out, okay, what can we do to redesign, to reconfigure, to rerun? So what we discover is more important than what we win, is kind of the traditional saying. So again, celebrate throughout the season. You have those good days, you have those bad days. Celebrate the good days. Learn from the bad days. All right. What else? What have I missed as we wrap up here? We've covered a lot of ground. My contact information, can we get my contact screen back up, please? So throughout the season, don't hesitate to reach out. You've got my phone number. I take texts. Occasionally I'll take a call, but you can leave a message if I don't pick up. And there's my email address. Don't hesitate to call me up, ask me. I really like talking to teams. You know, coaches, I love you. You do great stuff, but you know what? The team is the most important part, you know. And thank you for all you're doing, but I really enjoy if a team captain sends me an email. Of course, keeping youth protection in mind, the coach needs to be involved in that, and the mentor needs to be involved in that. But if the team writes me, or the team coach writes me, hey, Ref Rich, we're having this problem. Can you help us interpret this? This is what we're facing. Can we do this? How will this be judged? Some of those, how will this be judged? What does the rule book say? But ask the question. I may challenge you to go back and read rules. I may challenge you to go back and read the mission, or we may read them together. If you want to set up a video call, I'm open to that as well. There have been a couple of teams that, you know, halfway through the season, they're like, we've got this really cool idea, but we can't explain it on the phone. Can you get on a video with us and we see it? And they're excited, and they've got this great idea, and it's going to be activating a robot or a piece of the robot over here from over there. Is this allowed? And they demonstrate it, and it's like, that's really cool. I like that. That's awesome, you know. And we work it out, and it's like, yeah, if you want to try it, there's nothing that says you can't do that. Or there have been teams that have gotten on the video call, well, we're going to do this, this, and this, and this. You better check the rules on that. So those are very rewarding personally for me, but for the team as well. So if there's any question, give me a buzz. Let me know. I'm completely open to that. All right. With that, I think we're out of steam. Francisco, any closing comments you want to make, or? Awesome. Thanks, Francisco. And I think we've got to be out of here at 4:30, right? Okay. So we've got a few more minutes. I won't start taking the field down until the very end when I have to. So if you've got any questions, if you want to chat, if you want to look at something, come up and feel free and ask. And thanks for being here.